All right. Good morning, guys. Today is March 24th, and the reading assigned for today is 1 Samuel chapter 10, but tomorrow we pick up with 14. So for today's reading, I did 10 and 11 because they kind of flowed a little seamlessly. It's like the way one chapter ended, the next chapter brought everything together. So I went ahead and I put both chapters together. So I know when we left off yesterday, it was where we saw that Saul was now chosen to be the next king of Israel. And now we see what us opening up with chapter 10 is that Samuel goes ahead and he anoints him with the flask of oil. The one thing that I like so much about Samuel 10 is that there was an order of things. Like, okay, now that he had been anointed king over Israel, there was still things that needed to take place before he could step into his kingship. And the first thing that happened when Saul was like, when you go on your way, you're going to run into people because now that the donkeys had been found, which his father initially sent him out to look for, now his father was worried about him. So it's almost like that thing when sometimes God is about to take you into something new. There might be something that you need to go ahead and take care of and make sure that that box is checked as you proceed on to the next thing. And so the next thing that Saul said is that he would walk and run into people that were on their way to the temple for sacrifice. And he said what the people would have. And so the next thing that he said was of the three men, I think one of them would have three loaves, and of the three loaves, you was to take two. So it's like almost in that you see provision because one of the things that, after everything happened, I know he had finished his normal provisions when he was out looking for the donkey. Then he was able to sit with Saul and have a great feast, Samuel and have a great feast. But now we see that after the things was taken care of, the next thing that was given to him was provision, something for his physical sustenance, right? So now as he proceeds, he runs into the next set of people that Samuel foretold him he would. And the next set of people were people who were going to be prophesying. And it was going to be at that moment that the Spirit of God would be upon him in such a great way that he would start prophesying with the people. And so to me, I just really appreciated that there was an order. First, it was to finish, like God anointed him already to do the next great thing, but it was important that he took care of what he had initially started out to do. Then he had a provision physically, and then it was the spiritual encounter that was going to propel him into the next great thing that he was going to do. And so he said, after all of those things happen, then you're gonna come and you're gonna wait for me, and I'll come back to you in 7 days. So as Saul proceeded, all of these things happened just the way Samuel had foretold. And it was to the point because one of the things, remember, Saul was from the tribe of Benjamin, who, was looked down as the least. So what happens is now when Saul starts prophesying, once the Spirit of the Lord was powerfully upon him, it was like the people started looking like, wow, oh, so anybody could pretty much prophesy now. Like you got Saul out there prophesying because it was one of those things that it was considered something that was great. Yeah. All right. Because that was the thing. Like these people who were prophesying were already identified as prophets. So it's like Saul went from being a young man looking for something for his father to now being amongst prophets and being able to prophesy. One of the things that I have to point out too was it says that as Saul turned and started to leave, God gave him a new heart. So that's really important. And I guess it's one of those things that when you're looking for transformation and you're looking for something to have, It's like the place that God operates the most is in our heart. We know so many things spill out, get put in from our heart, but it's something of great significance when it comes to God. So, Lord, as we intentionally read this word, let us just intentionally offer up our hearts to Him daily, because that is a prayer, Father God, that God give me a new heart for all of the things that you're assigning in my life right now at this time, right? So now we see that he was now Samuel comes and he gathers all of the elders in the place of Mizpah and he begins to speak to them what God has spoken to him. And basically, God reminds them of what he has done for them. He said that I brought you out of the lands of Egypt and that I helped you defeat the people who oppressed you, but you still um, he said, you still rejected your God today, and have said, no, we want a king instead. So I just thought that that was important. Like, so much new things was going on at the same time, but this was still a season where God was giving the people what they asked for, which was seen as a rejection to who he had already been to them. So it's a lot to unpack with that. So have fun with it, right? And so it shows that as he brought them out and he was about to present the new king, that he cast lots. And it was saying that it says he brought out all the tribes of Israel before the Lord, and then the tribe of Benjamin was chosen by a lot. He said he brought out each family, and then it was like the family of the Mattrites was chosen. And then finally, Saul was chosen. So it was still, even though God had revealed to Samuel who was going to be the king and Saul had already been anointed, it's like Samuel still followed the procedure once all of the elders gathered. And this was something that was interesting because when it was time for Saul to be presented, it was like, where is he? And the bottom line is he was hiding. He was hiding among the baggage, right? And it's just how God had walked him through these steps, but there was still, even though like the Spirit of the Lord had fell upon him so greatly and God had given him a new heart, he still identified with who he was before that encounter. And we see that a little bit before because when he ran into his uncles and they said, well, where have you been? And he was like, oh, we were looking for the donkeys. And the prophet Samuel told us that the donkeys were already back home. But he never told his family the rest of the prophecy because you could see that part of the identity had to catch up. Like what God had done still had to catch up with who Saul felt he was. So sip on that one for a minute. I dare you. All right. Because I know I'm going to have to sip on it. Thank you, Jesus. All right. And so it says, like, he came out, right? And he stood head and shoulders above everybody because that was the thing that stood out about Saul was that one, he was handsome, but also that he was taller than everybody. So even though he tried to hide, once he was presented, he still stood out in such a way that the people were looking for, right? That's important, right? And so at this point, Samuel, because now they're going from having a judge to a king. And so at this point, Samuel went over all the rights and duties of a king. And so at that point, it was something that he wrote them down on a scroll and placed it before the Lord. Because remember, this is new. So something new from God had to be written because everything that they did was following something that was written, you know. And so that's what happened with that. And now it was one of those things where people started to complain and be like, I'm not gonna um give him gifts. They refused him because they said, who is Saul? That we have to now turn around that he should be king, right? But it says that Saul ignored him. And the way chapter 10 ends is when it talked about this king that had grievously oppressed the people of Gad and Reuben, right? And what happened was that he would actually gouged out their right eye. it was a way that he used to disgrace and to shame who Israel was. And so Israel had been, really afraid of them because it was like he was able, this king, these Ammonites, was able to cause them such grief, right? Because that's horrible. So it says that the army came back to attack them again, but they pleaded. They was like, let us have peace with you. We don't want to have battle with you. And the king said, well, in order for you to have peace with me, then you still have to allow me to gouge your right eye out. Like this was something that he just insisted on doing because it was something that disgraced the people of Israel. So he was looking for more than just people to actually serve him. He needed them to be disgraced in such a manner and then also become subservient. And so they asked for a couple of days to see, if they would have to accept this treaty the way it was given. And it showed that the people were just overwhelmed and disheartened, and they were actually weeping. And this is something that I found very interesting because, again, after Saul had been anointed as king, remember, this is still something new for everybody to get their head around. But then it's also a new identity that Saul is not. Like, he doesn't even have a person that went before him to show him how it was to be done. So it was just something new to him, the people of Israel. Like, they had witnessed it in other places, but he was literally the first of the first for the people of Israel. So it shows that he had been plowing a field with his oxen when he returned to the town and saw everybody was crying. So it was one of those things that even though he became king, he didn't go take his place in the palace and have all of these servants and all of this other stuff that nowadays we subscribe with being a king. No, he went back to what he was doing before he set out on his journey to find those donkeys, right? But it said right now, after that happened, the spirit of God, the Spirit of God came powerfully upon Saul, and he became very angry. And so, what he did was he chopped up animals and he sent it around, and he was like, whoever does not come to help us defeat those people that's willing to do these things to our brethren, that's what's going to happen to them. And so, in that, he was able to assemble over 300,000 men. And it was like, so the message got back to the Ammonites that they were not going to accept that treaty. And so the Ammonites was preparing for war, but while they were preparing, Saul had already assembled his army and he attacked them. And they were able to have a great victory over them. And it was like there was a remnant that they said they were so badly scattered that there wasn't even two running away, that anybody who managed to escape was just one person running away. So that was a great day. And so when people saw that that happened, and now that put Saul in a place where now he had a great respect. It wasn't just what God had given him and what God had said. No, but now they actually saw him act in a manner where he saved them. So it's almost like in that now it was like, well, let's go get those people who initially had a problem that didn't want to give you gifts and didn't want to honor you and kill them. And Samuel was like, no, we're not doing that. How about we just thank God that he's still with us and that we defeated the Ammonites you know, and that was it. And so at that time they had a ceremony before the Lord and they made Saul king. And it says they offered peace offerings to the Lord and Saul, and all the Israelites was filled with joy. So I think that that was two chapters that went together well because when you get to the end of chapter 10, it's almost like chapter 11 kind of lines up so much with that. So it just made sense for me to read it. But I loved how God brought them through that journey of even like when you get a new identity, that is like for some things, it's not immediate. like there's a process that actually happens, but it's almost like when the Spirit of God comes upon you in such a great way that you're able to move, that everything will line itself up. And so I pray that that's something that blesses somebody today. And I encourage as you continue in this read. I don't see any comments, so I'm gonna just keep talking, and then hopefully, as I run into people and people share like what they're getting from this Bible reading, because we know that the God of Saul and Samuel is the God of Avon and all and everybody else. So I pray that you guys are blessed and enjoying spending that time with him. Have a blessed day.